The Maroon Beret is a military beret and has been an international symbol of elite airborne forces since it was chosen for British airborne forces in World War II. This distinctive headdress was officially introduced in 1942, at the direction of General Frederick Browning, commander of the British 1st Airborne Division. The color of the beret was reportedly chosen by his wife, the novelist Daphne du Maurier. It was first worn by the men of the Parachute Regiment in action in North Africa during November 1942. Although they are colored maroon, the beret of the British Parachute Regiment is often incorrectly called the Red Beret. Austrian Armed Forces. The Maroon Beret is worn by all members of the 25th Infantry Battalion of the Austrian Armed Forces, which is a mixed airborne air assault unit. The Special Forces group of the Austrian Armed Forces also originally wore the Maroon Beret because of their airborne capability, but adopted an olive-green beret in 2003. In addition, the Austrian coat of arms is only used as cap badge until the successful completion of the basic selection course, after which jagged commando members wear a cloth version of the commando abyss icon. Australian Army. Maroon berets were worn by parachute-qualified members of the 3 RA Parachute Battalion Group from 1985 to 2012, when the parachute role was performed by 3 RA. In addition to the battalion, the group included a field battery, parachute surgical team, and engineer and signals elements. The beret was worn with the Royal Australian Regiment badge by infantrymen at the battalion, and individual corps badges for other corps members as appropriate. 2nd Commando Regiment now effectively perform the parachuting function formerly held by 3 RA. They wear a green beret with a commando badge. Qualified parachutists posted to parachute training school wore the beret with individual corps regimental badges until a few years ago. The beret is worn by any parachute rigger of RAAOC in a parachute rigger posting. The beret was previously also worn by the Airborne Platoon Royal Australian Regiment 1951 to 1974, then the Australian Special Air Service Company. When the Special Air Service Regiment was formed, this was replaced by the tan beret with SASR badge. Azerbaijan Army. The Republic of Azerbaijan Special Forces wear a maroon beret. Bangladesh Army. All members of the Bangladesh Army Special Forces Para-Commando battalions wear maroon berets with Para-Commando cap badge. Besides, all members of the Army Medical Corps, Army Dental Corps and Armed Forces Nursing Services of Bangladesh Army wear maroon berets with respective cap badges. Belgian Army. The Para-Commando Brigade wear the maroon beret with various types of cap badges. Brazilian Army. In the Brazilian Army, the use of maroon berets and brown boots is restricted to the members of the Airborne Infantry Brigade, one of the elite brigades of the Brazilian Armed Forces. British Army. British Army regiments wear distinctive headdress and cap badges which often reflect regimental history. Members of the Parachute Regiment and other arms serving in 16th Air Assault Brigade wear the maroon beret. A maroon beret does not mean the wearer is qualified as a military parachutist. Personnel qualified as military parachutists wear the parachutist badge. The beret is often called the Red Beret, and the Parachute Regiment is known as the Red Berets, or the Maroon Machine. Brunei Armed Forces. The Special Forces Regiment wear a maroon beret. Canadian Army. Jump qualified personnel in parachute units of the Canadian Army wear the maroon, provided they are in a designated parachute position. These are as follows: Z Battery, 1st Regiment, Royal Canadian Horse Artillery. E&Y Batteries, 2nd Regiment, Royal Canadian Horse Artillery. 5 Troop, 24 Field Squadron, 2 Combat Engineer Regiment. 5 Troop 53 Field Squadron, 5 Combat Engineer Regiment, M Company, 3rd Battalion, the Royal Canadian Regiment, C Company, 3rd Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, A Company, 3rd Battalion, Royal 22E Regiment. Instructors, packer, riggers and jump-slotted members of the Canadian Army Advanced Warfare Centre at CFB Trenton. Parachute Company, the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada. Chilean Army. Since the creation of the Armored Cavalry in the Army, all personnel who serve in the Armored Cavalry unit wear Maroon Berets, using the same badges regardless of each member's specialty. Specialists in Armored Cavalry are trained in the Escuela de Caballería Blindada del Ejército, and currently it is only branch of service whose members all wear berets. The other berets used in the Chilean Army distinguished only specialists, and, in the last years, the combined branch of service regiment, called Regimientos Reforzados. Czech Army. A maroon beret is worn by 601st Special Forces Group and by all members of 4th Rapid Deployment Brigade. Danish Army Special Forces. Danish Army Special Forces Jägerkorpset wears the maroon beret with a brass emblem depicting a hunter's bugle on a black feltliner. The beret is issued after completion of 16 weeks of SF training. However, not before 1 year of additional satisfactory service in JGK, as the wearer issued the shoulder patch Jäger and may call himself by this name. French Army. Since the 1957, almost all French Army paratroopers wear an Amarante beret. Exceptions include the Legionnaires and Naval Commandos who retain the green berets, and the Air Parachute Commandos who wear a dark blue beret. Finnish Army. The Finnish Parachute Jäger Corps trains personnel in the UT Jäger Regiment, UT, Finland. Jump-qualified personnel are allowed to wear the maroon beret. German Army. A maroon beret is worn by the German Kommando Spezialkraft and by all members of the division Schnellkraft. Greek Army. Maroon berets are worn by members of the 1st Army Aviation Brigade. Guatemalan Army. Maroon berets are worn by Ibiles, Guatemala's Special Forces. India Army. The Indian Army's 50th Parachute Brigade, including the minor support units of the formation, the President's Bodyguard, a ceremonial guard unit with their operational role as the Pathfinder Company of the Parachute Brigade, and the Special Forces units wear the maroon beret. Air Force. Indian Air Force Special Operations Force, Garud Commando Force, also wears the maroon beret and are parachute trained, with some personnel even freefall qualified. Paramilitary Forces. The Special Frontier Force of the Home Ministry are parachute trained and wear the maroon beret. Indonesia. Because Indonesian airborne paratrooper battalions are part of the Kostrad Infantry Division, they do not wear maroon berets as an independent regiment or corps, but instead wear green berets, identifying an army infantry group which is in the internal scope of the Kostrad Division Command. Army maroon berets are the official headgear of Army Aviation Center. This beret is worn by all its personnel. Established on the 23rd of March 2007, the beret replaced all the berets previously used by the personnel. Navy. In the Indonesian Navy Naval Special Forces Unit KOPASK, tactical divers wear maroon berets. Israeli Army. In the Israel Defense Forces, maroon beret is worn by the Zananim Airborne Brigade and Elite Special Forces units. Italian Army. In the Italian Armed Forces, maroon berets are worn only by paratroopers. The Army units Folgore Parachute Brigade, Carabinieri Regiment, Tuscania, and Gruppo di Intervento Special, and a police elite unit Nucleo Operativo Central di Sicurezza. Malaysian Army and Police. Army. The Malaysian Army's elite and paratrooper brigade has worn the Maroon Beret since its establishment in 1994. Police. The Royal Malaysia Police has 2 units wearing the Maroon Berets. The unit is the Pasukan Jerikan Kasai Detachment. A Special Actions unit has worn the Maroon Beret with black hackle after formed on 1 January 1975. The Senwar Praak General Operations Force has wearing the Maroon Beret with yellow hackle. Both of Maroon Berets for the 2 units is bestowed by the British Shash. Mexican Army. The Maroon Berets are worn by Mexico's Parachute Rifle Brigade called the Brigada de Fusileros Paracaidistas, created in 1969 as a rapid response team. Namibian Army. The Maroon Beret is worn by Namibian Special Forces, specifically the Commandos and Paratroopers. Netherlands Army. The Dutch Army's Air Mobile Force Light Infantry 11 Luchtmobiele Brigade, which translates to 11 Air Mobile Brigade, wear the Maroon Berets as a sign of the status upon completion of the training. Norwegian Army. The Norwegian Army Special Forces has worn the Maroon Beret since its establishment in 1981. Pakistan Army. The Special Service Group wears a Maroon Beret with a silver SSG badge on a sky blue flash. Line Infantry regiments which were parachute-trained wore their own regiment's berets till airborne role was taken away from infantry and assigned to SSG, which became the Army's only airborne outfit from 1964 onwards. In addition to SSG, Army Aviation and Air Defense, Army Medical Corps wear Maroon Berets. Navy's Special Service Group SSG wear Maroon Berets. Air Force PAF's Elite Special Service Wing wears Maroon Berets. Polish Army. Maroon Beret is worn by paratroops for its color, called in Polish Czerwone Berety, and also air cavalry. The beret is always decorated with embroidered white eagle and rank insignia. It is used as well with ceremonial uniform and field uniform. Portuguese Armed Forces. In the Portuguese Armed Forces, the Maroon Beret was worn by the members of the GEP Battalion from 1971 to 1974. The GEP was an elite paramilitary paratrooper unit consisting of native volunteers that was employed in counter-insurgency operations during the Mozambican War of Independence. Russian Armed Forces. The Maroon Beret is worn by members of elite Ministry of Internal Affairs Spetsnaz units, although it is referred to as Krapovi, meaning crimson. In a contrast to the Western style, Russian troops wear the badge on the beret of the right eye. In the Soviet era, paratroopers wore a Maroon Beret until the late 1960s, when General Vasily Filipovich Margolov decided that a Maroon Beret for paratroopers was a Western idea and introduced a cornflower blue beret. This may have been influenced by the cornflower blue of the Soviet Air Force and the cornflower blue helmets worn by Soviet paratroopers during the Great Patriotic War. Military of Serbia. Special Brigade Singapore Armed Forces Commandos. The Maroon Beret, a red beret, is worn by the elite commandos of the Singapore Armed Forces, depicting the status as an elite airborne and special forces unit. South African Special Forces and paratroops. The Maroon Beret is worn by both the Special Forces Brigade, the former 44 Parachute Brigade 1978 to 1999, and currently 44 Parachute Regiment 2000 to present. Spanish Army. The 1st King's Immemorial Infantry Regiment of AHQ, the oldest military unit in the world, wears the Maroon Beret. The Regimiento de Inteligencia 1, based in Valencia, wears the Maroon Beret, as do all units belonging to the Cuartel General Terrestre de Alta Disponibilidad. Spanish airborne forces have traditionally worn a black beret. Sri Lanka Army. The Commando Regiment of the Sri Lanka Army wears the Maroon Beret, and is the only Sri Lankan military unit to use it. Swedish Army. A Maroon Beret is worn by Fallskärmsjägarna, a jump-qualified Swedish Army Special Operations Unit. This is an airborne commando unit focused on intelligence gathering and squad-level combat deep behind enemy lines. Royal Thai Army. The Royal Thai Army Special Operations Force and paratroopers in the 31st Infantry Regiment wear the Maroon Beret. Turkey. The Turkish Armed Forces Special Operations Force, aka Bordo Bereleri, which translates as the Maroon Berets, is named for their distinctive headgear. Ukraine. Worn by soldiers of the National Guard of Ukraine. United States. United States Air Force Maroon Berets are worn by United States Air Force pararescue personnel and United States Air Force combat rescue officers. Pararescuemen are among the most highly trained emergency trauma specialists in the U.S. military and the only ones in the Department of Defense specifically trained and equipped to conduct conventional and unconventional rescue processes, making them the ideal force to handle personnel recovery and combat search and rescue operations. In early 1966, General John P. McConnell, then Air Force Chief of Staff, approved the wearing of the Maroon Beret. The beret symbolizes the blood sacrificed by pararescue men and the blood willing to be sacrificed should the need come, as well as the devotion to duty by aiding others in distress. To pararescue men, living up to the motto, that others may live, is a daily reality. United States Army. In 1943, during the Second World War, Lieutenant General Sir Frederick Browning, commander of the British 1st Airborne Corps, granted a battalion of the U.S. Army's 509th Parachute Infantry Regiment honorary membership in the British Parachute Regiment and authorized them to wear British-style Maroon Berets. U.S. Army advisors to Vietnamese airborne forces wore the Vietnamese French-style Red Beret during the Vietnam War. Headquarters, Department of the Army policy from 1973 through 1979 permitted local commanders to encourage morale-enhancing distinctions. Airborne forces chose to wear the marooned International Parachute Beret as a mark of distinction. However, due to the variety to headgear utilized at unit level, such as the Stetson being used in cavalry units, this permission was rescinded in 1979 when the Army introduced a policy of standardized headgear. Exceptions were allowed for the continued wearing of the black beret for the 75th Ranger Regiment and AMP Ranger Training Brigade, and the green beret for Special Forces. On 28 November 1980, permission was given for airborne organizations to resume wearing the Maroon Beret. Most American paratroopers refer to it as a red beret, which history and tradition mandates out of respect for the World War II British allies. Venezuelan National Guard. The Venezuelan National Guard is the fourth component of Venezuelan Army Force, responsible for all military operations that secure the public order, including anti-drug operation, administrative police, external security of jail, public security, citizens security, environment police, and the cooperation with the Army, Navy, and Air Force for military operations in the defense of the nation. They account to 1 unit of special forces involving many military special operations such as assault, recon,